I'm Dylan Mayo. I'm 17 years old and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am the creator of Krona Clothing. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say other than that.
You grab a hold of me. You tell me that I'll never be set free. But I'm a parasite. Creep and crawl, I step into the night. 2 pints of booze. Tell me, are you a bad fish too? Are you a bad fish too? Ain't got no money to spend.
So I first really started toying with the idea of starting a clothing brand in probably ninth grade. So like 2, 3 years ago. And it was always just kind of an idea, like I would post about it and be like, like if I started a clothing brand, who would buy it? Like who would buy the clothes? And like there's a fair amount of support, but I never actually made any moves to start the clothing brand. I just kind of said I was going to, but never did anything with it. And, like years went by and I would still be like, okay, like I haven't started this clothing brand yet. I keep talking about it and I'm still so excited about it, but I haven't actually started. I think part of me was waiting for my art to actually start becoming my art. Like I was waiting to develop more of a personal style before I really started putting it on shirts because I wanted to be really satisfied with my art before I started making clothes. So it was like a general idea. I knew I wanted to do it. And last summer, actually, I was in Iceland, and I had recently gotten into tagging, and so I was trying to come up with like a good tag, like a nice, clean name. And I had a few names that I wanted for my clothing brand. I had Frankenstein Clothing Co. and then Conehead Clothing. And both of those were good, but they were really long, and I was having a really hard time putting those into like a clean design. So I in Iceland the currency there is Krona, and so I was like that's so sick. And so I kind of thought like that sounds really futuristic and like sort of like cyber word. So I was just like, all right, let's see if I can write down this word and make it look really cool. And I sat there for like 15 minutes just writing the word Krona over and over again as many times as I could until it looked like really, really sick. And I just thought it was like a nice, like just a small word, like 5 letters, and it rolls off the tongue nicely. It's like it's crisp. And so that was when it really like actually became a thing. And that's when I was like, all right, like once I get back to, like once I get back home, I'm going to really start working on this. And so it took another few months for it to really take off, but I started actually like researching and looking into how to do it. I didn't really know what I was looking for, and I couldn't really find anyone who was a big help. But I finally settled upon like screen printing, and like it all just kind of it just kind of fell together. Like in like 2, 3 months, I was already printing out shirts, and I think a month after I really started, I had already like released my first batch of clothes. So yeah.
Never trust a junkie.
Well, okay. So first, obviously, you need to design, right? I'll sketch something up. I take a picture of it and I put it in Photoshop, and I'll darken it a lot so that the lines are very, very, very dark. So it's like black. And then I'll either put a filter over it, which makes it fully black and white, or I'll actually go and I will trace over the lines. It takes super long, but it looks a lot cleaner if you do it that way instead of just letting the filter do it. So I take that design and I'll print it out on, a few normal sheets of paper first, just so I can kind of see what it'll look like on a shirt, and how it all fits together on the paper. And once I have that layout looking nice, I'll take it to like the FedEx or the UPS store or something, and I'll print it out on some transparency paper. So it's completely transparent except for the black lines, and that's what you want. You want it to be very, very dark. So once I have that done, I will go back home and I'll take my screen and I will coat it with the photo emulsion, which is, it's like if you're exposing a photograph. You want to do it in a dark room because if the light hits it, it'll get exposed and it'll be ruined. So with this stuff, you need to keep it you need to do it in like a dark room with very soft yellow light. So like a bug light is perfect. You take it in there and you coat the screen. I use a scoop coater because you want the coating to be very even. If it's too thick, you will not be able to expose it, and if it's too thin, it'll just wash out. So with a scoop coater, you can really get it on there very evenly. Once I have that done, I'll put the screen in the drawer. I'll cover it with a cloth so it's completely dark. It needs to dry for at least 24 hours, so I'll keep the room completely dark for 24 hours. I'll just use my bug lamp if I need to turn on the lights or anything. Once that's done, I take it out with the lights still off. I take it out of the drawer. I set the design on top of the screen, and you have to use a very powerful light. So I use a 500 watt halogen light. You place it like 18 inches above the screen. You flip that thing on and you wait a few minutes. The black ink will block out the light, so that the whole the emulsion will get exposed and it'll harden, but the stuff that was under the black will stay unexposed, and so you can take it down and wash it out with water. And so you wash all that out, and you make sure you can see the light shining through. You let that dry, and then your design's done, so you can start printing. So you just take the screen, you put some ink up at the top, make sure you have a nice good bead going across. You take your squeegee, place your shirt under the screen, you take your squeegee and you wash the screen first so that the ink is all over it. Press it back over, and then you pull it back again. You make sure that it's nice and even, apply even pressure, and then you take off the screen and you hope to God that it came out well, because it is the worst feeling when you take off the screen and the design just didn't print correctly. There's a little bit of ink that didn't go on right. It's just the worst feeling. And once you have your design printed on the shirt, you let it dry, and that usually doesn't take too long. You can dry it with a hair dryer if you're in a rush. Once you do that, you take an iron and you iron it for 2-3 minutes, which can take a while. If you're doing 20 shirts, you have to stand there for an hour and iron the designs onto the shirts. But you iron it on, and then you're good to go. That's it. Once it's ironed on there, you throw it through the wash, and that's it. Then you sell it and make tons of money.